Hi everyone, so this is a video for the people in the Chakra and Overlay group. I've been asked by a couple of people now just to do a video outlining the kind of aftermath of a session, what to expect during a session. So I just thought I'd make this short video just to clear a few things up, because everyone does react to this work in different ways. It's a very powerful modality, and it can affect some people more than others. And actually what gets removed is a huge amount and can take up to a year to fully integrate it all. And sometimes people notice huge shifts, other times people notice small shifts over a longer period of time. So there's no real hard and fast rule to it. I wish there was in some cases, because then it would be a lot easy to predict for people. But unfortunately, we're not all the same. We're all very different. Our physical makeup, our health, our history in terms of trauma and all that kind of stuff is all very different for all of us. So I guess when we have a session, what can happen in terms of how you feel is you can feel hot, cold, tingly, headachy, because I'm removing a lot of clunky mechanical stuff, particularly the nanotech out of the brain area, out of the brain. So that's quite common afterwards as well. Some people feel nothing at all. It just depends on really how energy sensitive you are and that kind of thing. But it's really after the sessions where things can get interesting. It can be a very transformative and destructive process, but destructive in a good way in the long run, even though it might not seem like it on the short run. But it's almost like when all this interference gets taken off, you're left with a much stronger connection to your true self, or your higher self, whatever you want to refer to it as. And that tends to make much wiser decisions than our head brain, and all the interference and entity attachments that are messing with us as well. So it's quite remarkable really to find out what people have done after sessions. A lot of people changing their diet, perhaps finally moving on to a more healthy diet, it kind of gives them that kick. Other people, perhaps they might let go of a toxic partner or someone toxic in their past that's been there for years, and they haven't quite found the strength to do that. Other people, it's more emotional stuff, dealing with that. The emotional side is very prominent. It can really kick up the emotions, because this is kind of like an energetic purge, and with any purge or detox or anything like that, it can bring up stuff. It certainly did for me when I went through the process. So I mean, I am a massive advocate of doing the inner child work, if you want to call it that, or emotional work anyway, regardless of even if you have this session or not. So I would recommend that for people anyway, because it's so important to heal the subconscious wounds, because we're attracting into our life things, people, places, circumstances which identify with our emotional wounds. And I've said this many a times, if you had an alcoholic father, how many times have you heard that you draw in an alcoholic partner, or someone abandoned you as a child and then you get abandoned in a relationship, and the cycle goes on until we fix it. So but really and truly, this process will bring up stuff if you've got a lot of trauma and emotions there, and you've got to be fully prepared to be ready for it almost. So I'm very honest with people about this process. It's very very powerful, and it's going to push you to move into your highest path. And when we move into our highest path, that means doing stuff oftentimes we don't want to do, facing the dark night of the soul, facing the shadows, giving up things that no longer serve us. So as wonderful as this process is, and you get all the clarity, and you know the mind chatter quietens down and you're feeling much more centered, there can be a kickback if you've had a lot of stuff go on in childhood, you've not done any work around it. It can cause a bit of a purge, and you know, we have people in place that can support if and when that happens, and can work with you to do that emotional work. So I really want to make people aware of this. It can bring that up. In fact, I would say that that if there was deemed to be a negative part of this process, that would be it, in the fact that it can bring stuff up. But it's only temporary, doesn't last forever. You know, you might feel angry for a little while, or you might feel a bit upset. What you need to do is tune into that and think, right, okay, where is that coming from? Do I need to do some work around that? So it's very much being aware that can happen and being ready for it. And I'm always very upfront when I explain the process, because you know there's no shocks or surprises when this happens, if it happens. You know, a vast majority of people I work on, this doesn't happen, but you know, the few that haven't done any work, they've got a lot there, it can cause a kickback. And physically as well. I mean, again, I've seen some wonderful results with this work, pains and people that have had aches for years disappearing and all that kind of wonderful stuff. But again, if you're not looking after yourself physically, can be a bit of a purge, can be a little bit uncomfortable for a couple of days. So just be aware of that as well. So for example, say we've had circumstances where people have got fibromyalgia, and it can flare up for a day or two, and then it calms back down again, because again, it's purging, it's the body getting rid of toxins. So on the surface it doesn't always seem that great, but what's actually going on is a healing. Okay, so this works on emotional and physical sides. So again, that's something we need to be ready. Again, it's not very common, but need to make people aware. And really, yeah, so what you can do to help yourself afterwards is, like I say, you know, be aware of your emotions, you know, check in with yourself, you know, look at, keep your diet nice and light for a few days afterwards, keep hydrated. The chances are you'll be a lot more tired than normal for a month, around about a month afterwards. I know I was myself. I needed to sleep a lot more. That's also a side effect, so that's something else to be prepared for. But really, that's about as bad as it gets. And you know, this is for all the wonderful benefits that this does bring. There's the sacrifices of these side effects are worth it. Well, they're worth for me, and certainly for other people that I've worked on, in the majority anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to leave that with you. Yeah, I do talk about drinking the selenite water. This keeps out the nanotech from the chemtrails, from the washing powder, washing up liquid, which is in everywhere now. Nanotech is robotic, microscopic robots that are infiltrating our body through all of this, and they can mess with our neural pathways, they can mess with our nervous system. So you buy a shard of selenite, put that in a glass of water, drink that overnight, and you do that for 30 days, and that crystallizes the body and it stops that nanotech from coming back in. Also, I recommend that people do something for their gut lining. There is an attack on the gut lining. The gut is the belly brain. The belly brain is much more intuitive. There's a lot more wisdom in the belly brain rather than the head brain. So they do everything to keep us in the head brain. You know, through things like GMOs and the chemtrails, again, the belly brain's being attacked. So some kind of good probiotic, or drinking kombucha regularly, or some kind of fermented food is really good for this as well. But yeah, I just wanted to raise these issues just so people that are thinking about having this work done, or have had this work done, just so you know what you need to do and what could happen. But like I say, it doesn't take away from all the wonderful side effects, but it's important to let people know of the whole thing, just so they know what they're getting themselves into. Okay, so